Hi, I am Allie Camilletti, and you are listening to Snack Leadership. I will be talking about everything leadership, broken down into bite-sized pieces. You will hear what different leadership skills look like in organizations and how they can rise teams up or take them down. I help leaders build resilience and improve performance by bringing awareness to opportunity behaviors in my business. Spark your mindset. I provide leadership and sales coaching, as well as team building and guest speaking. My hope is for you to feel inspiration and to create a spark in your mindset. Hi, everyone. Today, we're talking about forgiveness. Forgiveness is the ability to release the power a past event has over us and mitigate the amygdala's guarding power to protect us so that we can navigate future risks. I had a great conversation with Joseph that you might have already listened to about forgiveness, and I wanted to expand on that a little bit in a different way. I am not going to say that forgiveness is my superpower by any means. I think it's something I still work on, and it was interesting as I went out and did a little more research on the topic, and I found these great articles that I'm going to share with you. One is by Harvard Business Review, and it's called Leaders Who Can't Forgive. They start off with this quote on Mahatma Gandhi once wisely saying, "An eye for an eye only ends up making the world blind." How true is this, right? And it's especially relevant for people in leadership positions. Leaders have such an important effect on other people's lives that their lack of forgiveness can create a climate where anger, bitterness, and animosity prevent a team, an organization, a society, and even a nation from being the best they can be. Now, when I have watched leaders that are maybe owners, I usually see them as humans that they've gone through a lot, and that's where their perseverance comes from, their ability to take risk. Yet, not always have they done their personal work. That's a lot of what I focus on with the leaders that I coach is let's start with us first. When we're good, everything else flows. So in this article, they talk about all relationships with others, right? Whether friends, strangers, or family members come with the risk of being hurt. Your parents may have been tough on you. Your teachers may have been unpleasant. Colleagues at work may have sabotaged your projects, or your life partner may have been unfaithful. Anytime you let others come close, you're vulnerable. And the most logical reaction to an insult or injury is to get even. Now, I have definitely had some of those experiences. Getting even wasn't the route I feel like I've ever really taken. Maybe I've gotten quiet. I've hidden. I've reclused. Probably not had the difficult conversations back then when they happened. I'm much better at it now as I've learned these skills. But what I have found in leadership is that humans who have this past stuff, because we all have our stuff, it's maybe different, but we all have our stuff, is that they take it into their leadership. It transitions into how they lead because that's all they know. Unless they've gone through really focused leadership coaching where we explore these different pieces and kind of question them and break them down, which we're going to do in a little bit. So they talk about how good leaders are aware of how costly it is to hold on to grudges and how unforgiving attitudes keep people from moving forward. Unfortunately, far too many people in leadership positions, revenge comes more naturally than forgiveness. Oh, have I seen this? We have an innate sense of justice. We want others to be punished for what they have done to us. A strong reaction to fairness or unfairness seems to be programmed into our brain, making us hardwired to retaliate and seek justice when others hurt us. I will never forget, I was working with an intern and something came up and she went straight to this like retaliation place. And I was like, oh, no, that's not what we do. And I really put it kind of back on, her age of just not knowing any better. But we are born with a little bit of that. And depending on how you were raised, and we're seeing it in our political system, in the different countries and the wars that we're experiencing. So we really have to make a conscious effort as leaders to not carry this on, because I feel like subconsciously it's deep down in there. When you cannot forgive the people who have hurt you, these feelings become a mental poison, destroys the system from within. As numerous studies have shown, hatred, spite, bitterness, vindictiveness create a fertile ground for stress disorders, negatively affecting your immune system. And to boot, an unforgiving attitude is positively correlated to depression, anxiety, hostility, neuroticism, and associated with premature death. I have had liver issues. They started, from what I understood, and when we found it, was in my early 30s. Do I have a ton to be angry about? Because that's what liver issues usually represent, is anger. Absolutely. Yes. From a very young age, I have a lot to be angry about. And so forgiveness has been a piece of my work that I focus on. And I'm here to say, I feel I am able to let things go, not hold grudges, but I consciously pay attention when I go to that place. Because I have not forgiven everybody in my life where there's been damage. I've done workbooks on it. During the pandemic, I really focused on forgiveness. And I thought I was doing it for someone else, but I was really doing it for another person who passed pretty quickly after I had done that work. And I was able to wish this person peace as they transitioned and passed. And it was a very freeing feeling. For the first time, I was able to stand in front of this person and just be like, I wish you peace. And my body wasn't activated. I was really at peace with what I was saying. So I'm here to say I practice this daily. I have not mastered it. So if you're like, oh gosh, I have total forgiveness issues, don't think that you need to go to therapy for 10 years to get over these. You can still practice some of what we're going to talk about today and work through these with time. They say, why are some of us more likely to forgive than others? And what differentiates them from those who remain vindictive and bitter? Well, taking a psychodynamic system orientation to the study of leaders, they found 3 features associated with a resistance to forgive. Obsessional rumination. Unforgiving people spend their time obsessing about their pasts. Those subject to rigid, autocratic parenting and to childhood abuse seem to be more likely to do this, contrary to those who were fortunate to grow up in a more benign and nurturing environment. It all starts with us. Lack of empathy. Empathy is the evolutionary mechanism that motivates altruistic and pro-social behavior. Imagining and feeling that another person experiences putting yourself in their other person's proverbial shoes allows you to consider the motivations of the transgressor, giving you a route to forgiveness. It's a skill that you can learn early on. Children brought up by largely absent or abusive parents generally can't develop the ability. For these people, forgiveness becomes extremely difficult. So it's understanding what's getting in your way of being able to forgive and working on that to hit to that next place of having empathy. Then there's a sense of deprivation. Individuals who did not receive much attention and care as children often focus on what they do not have. how they might get it. But when they get it, they continue to compare themselves to others, envy their success, reputation, possessions, or qualities, often expressing these envy towards the achievements of others through emotional explosiveness and outbursts of rage. So people who exhibit these behaviors are less likely to forgive, and they struggle in their leadership roles. They will not be the kinds of leaders that get the best out of their followers. The ability to forgive is an essential capability for any leader wishing to make a difference. Of course, forgiveness doesn't mean excusing unacceptable behavior. It's about healing the memory of the harm, not erasing it. When you forgive, you don't change the past, but you change the future by taking control of your destructive feelings instead of letting them control you and creating a new way of remembering. So we talked about what can get in the way for leaders. Now let's talk about Forbes' article on the art of forgiveness, a key to high performance leadership. So the truth is that individuals and organizations are much more successful and healthy when people aren't holding on to past hurts. Therefore, one of the attributes of transformational leaders is their ability to shift feelings such as anger, disappointment, and blame into something positive. By practicing forgiveness, you can fuel trust and respect, thereby increasing your team's performance. Transformational leadership requires a great deal of compassion. We must remember that our team members are human and that it takes time to adapt to change, which means that they make mistakes and perhaps even say or do things that will upset us. This is why it's important to know when to forgive past wrongdoings. And it's all in an effort to create a brighter future for our team and organization. So how do you let go of these emotions and forgive others for what they've done? We can learn from transformational leaders such as Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison. During that time, he was isolated in terrible conditions. After being released in 1990, he could have stayed angry at those who had wrongfully imprisoned him. Instead, he chose to forgive them and accept what happened. By releasing that hurt and focusing on a brighter future, he was able to achieve true freedom. Forgiveness is not about condoning other people's hurtful behavior. No, it's about developing compassion and accepting others for being imperfect, while at the same time honoring our boundaries and protecting ourselves. It's about knowing that blaming others will never solve the problem or lead to inner peace. We must free ourselves from our own negative victim story of what we believe happened to us. And we must realize that the other person's behavior likely had nothing to do with us. They were probably feeling some threat or danger, consciously or unconsciously, which activated their survival instincts and inhibited them from doing the right thing. We know everyone makes mistakes. We're humans. We're not perfect. I feel as a parent, I'm constantly making mistakes, but I've really learned to recover with my daughter, and she's learned to forgive when I do make those mistakes. It's just part of being human. We cannot expect the people in our life to always meet our expectations. They've got their own limiting beliefs and personal struggles, which is why forgiveness is a key component to transformational leadership and a healthier life. So ask yourself, is there someone or something in my life that I need to forgive? To help you forgive people for their mistakes, the following actions. Start by labeling and accepting the emotions that you're feeling. Ask yourself, what emotions are present as I focus on this situation or event? It could be anger, hurt, betrayal. I had a woman who came to me and said, Allie, I just need a 1-hour coaching. She was really struggling with her leader at the time. And we talked about it, and she's like, I feel so much anxiety before I come to work. that it really isn't good. I'm like, yeah, that sounds really deep rooted. I mean, if you are having that much anxiety the day before your work, something's going on. So I asked her, I said, tell me what you don't like about this woman. She shared a list. I'm like, okay, since this is so deep rooted, I'm going to ask you, who does this woman feel like that you've had in your life in the past? She was quick to be like, nobody, no. We keep talking. She stops. She's like, oh, yeah. She said, it's my foster mother. She was all of these things. I said, okay. So I said, that's your work. This person came into your life to show you that your work has not been done in that area. So I recommend for you, find a good therapist. I'm always a fan of EMDR for past traumas, PTSD. It's really amazing therapy. But the therapist needs to specialize in EMDR and do that work first. Because I believe that people will continue to present in your life in these situations unless you've done your work. So once you've accepted how you're feeling, you can develop compassion by considering that other person's true intentions. Ask yourself questions such as, why did the person do what they did? Or was the hurtful behavior consciously intended to cause pain? Or was it more likely to be misunderstanding or their inability to meet my expectations, or perhaps because they were under a great deal of stress? I find that often with owners. Remember that everyone's always doing their best based on the resources they have available for them and their state at that time. Be sure to practice self-compassion as well, because you too are a work in process, where every challenging event is an opportunity to grow. So if you're struggling with your own self-blame, a couple questions you can ask, or even phrases to help forgive yourself. Did I do the best I could? It was easy for me when I learned some important lessons when I'm sorry about when When you decide to let go of the blame and make peace with yourself and others, you'll be rewarded with physical, mental, and emotional well-being. In addition, you'll likely find it easier to access the beautiful lessons and gifts from those past painful experiences. The return on your investment will be a more compassionate and coherent work environment, which derives greater collaboration, creativity, and higher performance. So I leave with you this quote by Marianne Williamson. The practice of forgiveness is our most important contribution to the healing of the world. Thank you for tuning in to Snack Leadership. I hope you felt inspiration, motivation, and felt your mindset spark. Snack Leadership is recorded and produced by myself, Ali Camilletti, and music by Shireen Amini.